Cool. So welcome everyone. Welcome to this interview as part of the Virtual Diversity Resource Center for male students. My name is Aaron. I'm a Global Titans ambassador, and here today. I have Matthew Vasquez. Did I say your name right, Matthew?
Yeah, it's Matthew
Yeah.
Vasquez.
All right.
My name's Matthew Vasquez. I'm a fourth-year human services major. I've studied abroad in 3 different countries, and I have also am involved on campus with Project Rebound as well as the Mel Success Initiative.
All right. Yeah. Wow, you're involved in a lot of stuff, dude. I'm very
Yeah.
impressed. Yeah. All right, so let's just go ahead with the first question. So you introduce yourself. Maybe why don't you talk more about like your study abroad experiences and how it led you to what you're doing today.
Okay, so the 3 study abroad trips that I went to was one of them was my first year. It was through the Office of First Year Experience. They were having a trip to either La Paz, Mexico, or Santiago, Dominican Republic, and I ended up going to the La Paz trip. And let me tell you, that was a really unforgettable experience for me, because I've been to different parts of Mexico and I am part Mexican myself. But when it comes to diving deeper into different states within the country, and then after that exploring different cultures within different regions of the country, is just you find that every place is very unique, but everybody treats everybody with respect, and then also sees everybody as part of their community. And it was just overall great, and there was a lot of firsts when it came to my first study abroad trip. First time I ever got on a plane by myself, and so that was pretty cool. When it came to it, too, first time traveling by myself without family, so that was a big deal. And then just snorkeling with whale sharks, that was something I didn't expect to do ever in my lifetime, but I did it. Same thing with snorkeling with snake lines, didn't expect to have that happen, but I did it. And then the people I met over there, I mean, I'm still friends with them today, and that's how deeply rooted those friendships are. And it's just so it was overall great experience. And then there's just a lot of pieces in between that are nuggets that you remember and carry with you throughout your whole entire life. And that's the same thing I could probably say with all the other trips that I've been on as well. Although they weren't my first, when it came to La Paz, Mexico, Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, and Havana, Cuba, not many people can say that they've traveled to Havana, Cuba, but to do it as a college student through university, it was very humbling, very eye-opening, just overall just a phenomenal experience. And it's very surprising because a lot of people would think differently about going to a country like that, but I don't know, it felt good to be over there as well.
Yeah, well, wow, I'm very jealous of you. You went to Cuba and Mexico. Like, I really want to go to Cuba. I've only been to Mexico once, and yeah, I'm so jealous of you. So you talked about like the nuggets of experience. Maybe why don't you like describe a vivid memory you had when you studied abroad?
The last day of our La Paz trip, the people that we were working with when it came to the community center, and the just the community center people in general, they didn't want me leaving.
Oh.
There was the last day we all gathered on the grounds of the community center that we were working on and working with, and we all said our goodbyes to all of our friends that we were working with through the program. And everybody for some reason was gathering towards me, and because I was one of the most vocal with them, seeing that I spoke Spanish, I actively tried to involve myself in the community and also the culture while I was there. And they saw that in me, and they see me as one of them, and so they were yeah, he's not leaving, and as a joking matter. And we had one of the overseers of the trip through the Office of First Year Experience, literally had to pull me into the van because they didn't want to let me go.
Wow, man, that I mean, like, wow, that kind of reminds me of, so I studied abroad as well. I went to Taiwan during my 2018-2020 school year, and I
Okay.
was like, I worked with like Taiwanese elementary school students, and then like I got to, so what I did was that I was an international student there, and then I was paired with a domestic student from the university I was in, and then what we did
Okay.
was we Skyped to Taiwanese elementary school students every week, and like I was able to visit them on free trips as part of volunteering for the organization, and like
Uh,
and I relate because like I was like eating dinner with the kids, and then they're like all like having fun, and they're like they're cracking all these jokes and whatever they talk about, and they they were really they were like holding my hands and whatnot.
mm.
I was like, wow. I mean, like I'm here making such a big difference, and I definitely can relate to what you went through. Yeah,
It feels great.
wow. It definitely does. Yeah, it's like you're actually here affecting these people's lives. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And then
Oh
it's
man,
changing yours at the same time.
exactly. Yeah. Wow. I still remember it. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for talking about your experience there.
Of
I
course.
definitely could have related there. Let's go on to the second question. So, how do you identify? How often do you think about your identity and how it relates to your daily life?
When it comes to it, I identify as Hispanic, but in
Mhm,
broader terms, I also like to see myself as a person as well. Um,
mhm,
and like, I identify as Hispanic and also part Mexican because I am part Mexican and I am
mhm,
Hispanic by definition myself. And like when it comes to my daily life, it does, affect it when it comes to it. However, I don't let it stop me from being who I am and also, striding for my goals and, also working as hard as I usually do. There are certain things when it comes to it though that where I am like, you know, if I do need to challenge somebody's opinion or somebody's like, standpoint, I try to go at it as, professionally as possible and not try to be hostile, but, have a open forum and open conversation rather than bickering and arguing and, escalating situations. But yeah, I mean, I feel like it's also very important to me because it's always been something that's been highlighted in my life. Like everybody in my family like tells us all the time, just like, remember family is, something and in my culture, that's something that's very important to us no matter what. And
mhm,
that's just one of the few values, one of one of the many values that I can list off that we, you know, as an Hispanic individual, like, carry with us and, affects us every day and makes us think
mhm,
more when it comes to it.
mhm. How is your male? Are you male? Just making sure. Do you
Yeah.
identify as male? Yeah. So how does the like male Hispanic like affects your daily life specifically?
Um,
Yeah.
I will not lie when I say this. I feel
Mhm,
like I do have a certain amount of privilege when it
mhm,
comes to it, because I'm male.
mhm,
Beyond that, I feel like just how I look also, like physically speaking, allows me to pass along at certain times as well. And, you know, in day-to-day life, I would say it affects me to an extent, but not to the fullest extent as you would think. Like at times, I'm not gonna lie, like, excuse me, when it comes to it, like, you do have those thoughts in the back of your head when it comes to, well, I'm male, I'm Hispanic, I'm young, you have to look over your shoulder sometimes because you may
mhm,
feel like, fearful
mhm,
because, in the kind of culture and the world that we live in right now, like, you never know, who's looking to pick a fight, who's looking to, start something. And it's unfortunate to an extent that, you know, although we have privilege, we don't have, the same privileges as other counterparts of our, identity and
mhm,
race. So yeah. Does that
mhm.
answer your question?
Yeah, kind of, and it kind of answers the next question. So you kind of answered like how aware are you of your gender identity and in different contexts? So you talk about your daily life. How how do you think your male identity like functions in like a study abroad kind of perspective?
I feel like that gives me more ability to kind of do things a little bit more freely compared to
Mhm,
if I were a female.
mhm,
I know that when it came to our study abroad trips that we went on with the groups that I was with, like I one trip I was literally the only male, and
mhm,
it was quite an interesting dynamic only because it's just like one male, all the rest of them females, and they had buddy systems and stuff like that, and like I sometimes went out by myself sometimes and it was just fine, but others would have to go with other people, and that's how it feel comfortable. And I feel like that's the other thing about it is there's like less like there's less pressures from the society that we're in or the culture that we're visiting, because I mean you know men regardless of where we are in the world have hormones and have like you know I guess needs and wants in regards to you know pleasure when it comes to a female, and that's they're gonna be saying things and whatnot, and it's unfortunate that that happens, but in the position of a male, I have that privilege to step in if I need be, or also have that privilege to not have to deal with something like that. And then I feel like the only thing that is sometimes difficult is if you look like a foreigner in a foreign country. A lot of people will tend to like try to like want to see if they can sell you something, or talk to you and get to know you and whatnot. So yeah.
mhm. Yeah, how did it feel to be like the only male in your program?
Honestly, I didn't find it awkward at all. It was
Mhm,
pretty cool.
mhm,
I found it as like kind of a challenge to myself to kind of get to know the more feminine side of myself, only because
mhm.
it's important.
Right.
Like the feminine perspective in regards to a male's life, like it's important because
Mhm,
you know toxic masculinity is something that's like taught every day subliminally through a lot of different messages in the world. But beyond that, I mean,
mhm,
sometimes the role models that we have in our lives aren't always the best, and to get a different perspective when it comes to it allows us to kind of, okay, well, there's this, what makes sense to me and how do I feel about these things, and furthermore.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, and so I mean, if there were like males in that specific program, would it have like affected the your experience like positively, negatively? Like, would
I
you would have wanted that kind of camaraderie,
I,
or?
I honestly, I feel like I got more insight when it came to the overall
Mhm,
experience going through it with an all-female program.
mhm,
Not to say that I wouldn't have gotten the same experience without like another male in the program. However, like, you never know when it comes to a group or an individual, because if you add somebody to the group, whether that be male or female, but you know the attitude towards the trip and also the
mhm,
personal things that are going on with that person, how it affects the trip, can also affect the group. And that sometimes could either, bring a group down or push a group up. And I mean, like, I wouldn't have wanted to risk that, to be honest with you. And honestly, I had fun
mhm,
regardless. So
mhm. Yeah, I mean that is a really good mentality to have, like stepping out of your comfort zone, regardless, if you can identify with those people or not. I mean, it's a really good way to just learn about a different perspective, kind of thing. Definitely agree.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to our next question. So, what inspired you to study abroad, and what motivated you to go apply?
I honestly wanted to experience the world and just travel. I have never traveled outside of the States by myself before. And so when I heard that you can do it through school with other people, but you're also semi doing it by yourself, I was like, this sounds perfect for me. And I knew I wanted to do it. So I signed up got to experience the, process of applying for the study abroad programs. And then after that, just following through, and it was just an overall great experience. And it's everything I expected and more, to be honest with you.
Definitely. So you basically like saw it through like an event or something, or did you just know about like study abroad exists in
So
college?
I knew I wanted to study abroad for sure. I just didn't know
Uh-huh.
where exactly to like go for it. But then after that, I think it was when there was a couple of tabling events that were going on at the beginning of the semester.
Mhm.
I don't know which week it was, but it was on Titan Walk when all of the resource centers end up having their tables and promoting their programs. I ended up coming across one of the individuals that was running the table at the time. I think it was Abigail that was there. I think it was her.
Mhm.
Shout out to her. She's the
Yeah,
best.
she is.
And yeah, she really is. And yeah.
Mhm.
Um, and we ended up, just talking for a little bit. I talked about it with other individuals that were students at the time as well. And then we just got into it. And I was like, all right, bet, this is cool. And that was pretty much like the
Mhm.
rest of it. And they gave us the meeting
Uh,
time to meet with other students that were interested in it, went on with that, and then, helped us with the application process. It was just overall, it helped us a lot.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Abigail again, or Abby. Very helpful person. She is just dedicated to her work. Yeah, I work with her, and I'm proud to work with her. So yeah,
Yeah, she's the
cool.
best.
Yeah, she is. All right. So let's move on to the next question. So I feel like you sort of answered this question. It's kind of this question is more how you've grown
Mhm.
throughout the program from the start to the end of it. Specifically, how has the program helped you grow in general in as a male or as a man?
Um, to be honest with you, I feel like
Mhm.
I've grown more patient,
Mhm.
open-minded, humble to an extent, more driven as well, and then just like empathetic, or not empathetic, but I don't want to say sympathetic because that's kind of like, I don't necessarily like that word. Um, but it's like, when it comes to being a male and also seeing a position of privilege and knowing how the rest of the world kind of works, and seeing, a lot of things also going on around us, like I feel like I'm more aware as well about like where I stand in the world, and also who I am in the world, and kind of what I want to do in order to step further from that. And like interacting with all those people abroad, like it teaches you how to humble yourself, because I mean, like, you know you could have the life that you have now, like where you're able to travel and you're able to, you know go out and, explore, a different country, and or, be in that country and not be able to leave, and, live that life. And then, it's just teaches you a lot when it comes to, you know overall growth, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I can imagine your position in your specific program. It's definitely has it like I can definitely kind of see how it kind of like the ways you've grown is kind of like contrary to what a man should be.
Mhm.
Like traditionally men should be masculine, should be strong, shouldn't care about their like emotions, should be tough kind of thing. But did you think that it has? So you said so you definitely said that it has made you be more feminine in that sense. So like being aware of like others' feelings and whatnot, kind of
Yeah,
getting like
and I
uh
don't I don't necessarily like to think of that as a feminine thing, because we
right,
all have feelings, which
definitely.
is which is kind of odd that, like, we're as males supposed to be strong,
Mhm.
but if you're unable to really, explain your feelings, is that true strength, or is that weakness that's,
Mhm.
driving you at that point? But that's different discussion
Right.
completely in and on itself. But yeah, I mean, like I feel like it it does to an extent, only because like you see not things through a feminine lens, but also see yourself in a different lens. Because like, traveling sometimes, like, you're going with a bunch of strangers for the most part. You don't know, you hardly know the people that you're going on the trip with unless it's like family or something like that. But even then, you're in a completely unknown space. So you don't know how your body's going to react to that space, or how your mind's going to react to that space, or how your emotions are going to react to that place. And if it's a place of peace, if you're not used to that kind of environment, get lost in the environment, and you start wanting to think of, you know, your position compared to the others around you, which are also male and female. However, you even see it when it comes to yourself, how people approach you versus how people approach a female. And, you understand that experience. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, good answer. Well, let's move on to my next question. And so the next question is, what was a challenge you overcame while studying abroad? And from your perspective, are there any challenges to studying abroad that exist specifically for male students and or male students of color?
Um, for me, I feel like the only challenge that I really had initially was the process. And what I mean by the process is just like, I've never flown before.
Mhm.
So like, starting from, I've never flown before, nor have I been outside of the country myself, nor do I know how I'm gonna pay for all this stuff. So like, the process of kind of studying abroad, that was my biggest challenge. And so when I was told about, the payment options and how you can, do payments over time, and I was like, all right, awesome. That lays out how I would be able to pay for all of this when it comes to my study abroad program. But then after that, also going to, all right, I've never, been able to, I don't know what's necessary to go outside of the country. And so speaking to the advisors that we have at the study abroad office and finding out, like, you just need a passport, and then on top of that, you just need enough money for a plane ticket, and then you can book the plane ticket with us. And getting all those resources while I was
Mhm.
also, trying to figure everything out, it just helped a lot when it came to it. So although my biggest challenge was the process, I feel like, everything balanced out once it came to, speaking with others when it came to the study abroad office, um, other students that were also in the program who were buying their tickets around the same time as you. So it's like all things that are very minimal, but challenges to an extent.
Yeah, definitely. I do think that students find the finances and just the logistics kind of very mysterious and hard, but it just takes some research and someone to
Yeah,
reach out
I
to.
feel like the one thing that needs to be highlighted a lot though is scholarships for sure.
Mhm,
Like
mhm,
a lot, I know that a lot of things have been changing recently, but one thing that was something that wasn't as actively updated was scholarships for sure when it comes to study abroad. I feel like also when it comes to it from a male perspective, I think the challenges that the stigma of I have to be the breadwinner, so I have to kind of sacrifice what I want to do to you know help others around me.
mhm,
And even then, like that's still something that's possible as long as you can budget things out. And then on
mhm,
top of that, apply for scholarships, work, just healthy habits. I believe just in general that, should be practiced anyways, but,
mhm,
towards the goal of studying abroad.
mhm. Yeah, and so you mentioned like males being breadwinners, right? And so how do you think like we should like overcome that and kind of allow like kind of not have that stigma or kind of lessen that stigma so that males like are more willing to like do experiences like study abroad?
I feel like looking at it as although like you don't necessarily have to say that you're a breadwinner in itself, or maybe if you want to, you can, but are rewarding yourself to an extent when it comes to it. Because, even if you are a breadwinner and even if you are, the main source of income in your household, burnout's a real thing. And then on top of that, like, in order to find peace within yourself, you couldn't necessarily, continue this process until you burn out. And, looking at it as like, this is a reward to myself because I deserve this, given that I've worked so hard. And even then, going beyond that and thinking like, okay, like, who exactly am I, the breadwinner for? If it's friends when it comes to it, who are kind of like, always asking you for money, always wanting stuff and needing things, then obviously that's a different conversation in itself. And you may have to have a discussion with yourself and see like, well, is that really a friend, or is he or she or they like just taking advantage of me, and then kind of going from there. And even then, like, just reminding yourself that you're a person. I feel like everybody deserves a break, as well as, some time and experiences. And, you only live like once. And, if you live like hard enough and you live for yourself enough, you only need one. So.
Yeah, thank you for the answer. All right. Your next question kind of relates to like male peers and peer pressure, kind of like how masculinity kind of functions, right?
Mhm.
And I just want to ask about your personal experience. Have you ever talked about study abroad with your male peers? If so, what was their reaction to study abroad?
I had actually a couple of people that I talked to about study abroad, and they were very open to finding out how to go through the process of seeing what they can do to study abroad. And
Mhm.
sure enough, I mean, like, I just, directed them to the resources that they have over there at the study abroad office by, sharing the link, like, hey, there's advisors that you can make appointments with today, and then, tell them all that you're looking for, and then go from there.
So you think it's more just a problem of like male students and just students in general not knowing the resources are there versus like some kind of like stigma or like societal pressure?
Well, I feel like it's a little bit of both,
Uh-huh.
to be honest with you,
Mhm.
because I know like to an extent there are some people that told me like, I would study abroad, but when I can't afford it. And then when you talk about like, when the trips are and also how you can afford it, it's like, oh, but I have family obligations between that time and that time because of, other things. And then if not, like, they have professional things when it comes to it, whether that be internships or having to work on the off season to, pay off loans or X, Y, and Z. It's just, there's a couple of things when it comes to it, I believe, but it's also like, you know, to an extent, just a little bit of both when it comes to
Mhm.
it.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely.
Because I know that prior to kind of, you know, the study abroad programs that I went
Mhm.
to, there were more male students that were going around. And I know that was more so because they had more volunteers that were of male, identity that, promoted these programs. And, that was something that I ended up doing. So, it helped to an extent.
Mhm.
And other individuals see it, and then I feel like, I don't know, it's just it's a little bit of both, like I said. So.
Yeah, it's definitely complicated. Some of this is just pragmatic, like I can't do this because I have obligations, and others is kind of the societal
Mhm.
pressure thing as well. Yeah, so I
Yeah,
mean,
and
do you
then
think that like having like male role models that work within study abroad be more apparent? Would that help?
I feel like that would help a lot, actually, only
Mhm.
because it's just, I know majority of the individuals that work in our offices are of female identity.
Mhm.
And I know that when it comes to it, you know male necessarily won't relate the same way, but at the same time, it's just, to see somebody that you can relate to is something, that adds the, I guess, to the experience that could be possible for them
Mhm.
and where they see themselves,
Mhm.
so if that makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next question. And so, what tips or advice would you tell male students who are afraid, like afraid, quote unquote, of studying abroad?
Um, I would kind of ask them what their concerns would be, and then after that,
Mhm.
go from there. Um, Beyond that, I would just say there is really nothing to fear. I mean, the only thing that there is to fear is not kind of doing it.
Mhm.
Because I mean, there are, there's places that, we get to study abroad that nobody can ever get to go to. or there are people that want to study abroad, but you're not having the opportunity, like you have the opportunity to, not them. And I feel like even then, like I feel like the biggest fear beyond that is, are you going to be more afraid of looking back on this decision and regretting it, or are you going to be more afraid of jumping on the plane and then after that going through experience and enjoying it?
Mhm.
That's kind of like how I break it down, but at the same time it's just like kind of go down what the concerns are first, because I mean, like, it could be like, oh, what if I can't afford it? I mean, like, well then, okay, like we can make a budget, we can talk to others about scholarships, if you need to, like, we can talk and see if you can, like, use the recycling at our apartment or whatever the case may be. Like, you can ask your boss for extra shifts, or you know you can budget your meals. Like, we can figure something out at that point. And like, if it's another issue, then kind of talk about that. But I don't know, I think beyond that, it's just I would react kind of like, all right, so what are your fears? Yeah, that's pretty much
Mhm.
it. Like,
Mhm. So just talk to someone, figure out, what their concern is, and then move from there, kind of thing.
yeah, pretty much, because it's
Mhm.
just like, if it's a concern that I can grasp and know how to respond to, then I'll respond to it. But if it's
Mhm.
something that I don't understand, I don't know, it's just like, I could pass you the information of another individual that works in the office that can help you answer these questions, and we can make it possible, and then clear up your fears.
Mhm. Definitely. All right, let's move on to the next question. The next question is, has studying abroad changed the way you interact with others? Has it changed the way you interact with your male peers?
Oh, 100%. I really think that as time went on, as I came back, I feel like I was more connected to my male peers,
Mhm.
and honestly just more connected to people in general, because I mean, in different countries, like, there is no Wi-Fi, and if you do have Wi-Fi, you have to pay for it. And then even then, like, you know you wouldn't really want to be on your phone if you're in another country just trying to explore, and so you get reconnected with people. And you know some of those people are male and of a different society, in a different country, in a different culture, so you get to see, you know experience that kind of culture. Same thing with females as well. And then you feel a lot more connected to the world by being connected with those people, and bringing that back home. I mean, like, you share those experiences, keep those, little things that you see, those little tidbits of culture that you picked up on over there, and bring them over here, and just add to the culture that we have here. And yeah.
Mhm. I mean, like in my personal experience, like I've definitely been like bugging people more to like just like study abroad, just like take that leap to like do something like that is you can only do during college. So I mean, I definitely agree with you. I mean, I myself, I think I have changed in that I think I've just been more international in that sense, and it's
Hmm.
part of the reason also. It's just that I work as a student ambassador for the study abroad office, and so and that's just me though, right? So I definitely agree with you.
Yeah,
It does change you
I feel
in
like it
many
also
ways.
makes you a little bit more curious too.
Mhm. Definitely makes me
Yeah.
more curious. Yeah, I definitely just try to bug my friends to just do something while they're
Yeah,
in
I, I
college.
I
Yeah.
always I always ask my friends and tell
Mhm.
everybody that comes in, like, when it comes to the research center that
Mhm.
we have at MSI. Like, I tell them
Mhm.
all the time, like, if you ever want to go study abroad, just let me know. Like, we'll talk about it. Like, and then even then, like, I could direct you to people that know and stuff like that, and we can go from
Mhm.
there. And
Mhm.
then, like, on top of that, it's just like I'm like, I tell them about my experiences, and I kind of share with them, and kind of like, just tell them, like, this could be you too. If you want to go study abroad, you can do it. It's not,
Mhm.
it's not impossible. Like, if I did it, you could do it.
Yeah. 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 I like that mentality.
Mm.
All right. So, I mean, we're coming to the end of the interview now. I just want to ask you if there's anything we have not talked about that you would like to share.
Not really. I think I talked about a lot of different things here today, and I don't know. I feel like just my one message is, explore the world at your own, pace. But remember that, doing it here and with a school as well as, with other individuals from university that you're coming from, um, very low risk of anything bad happening in those kind of scenarios. And it's even more impactful to your college career because not many people, although a lot of people do study abroad, not many people could say that they've been to different countries while also attaining a degree on US soil. So that's a big deal in itself. And you know do what's best for you at the end of the day. Like, I know that sometimes it doesn't play in the cards, but that doesn't mean that you don't have other opportunities to do said trips or something else to make up for that. Because I mean, like, if I'm gonna be honest with you, like there are some trips that I was planning on going to because of COVID, but or during COVID, but because of COVID, not a lot of things panned out, and it's okay because at the end of the day, there are different opportunities, different places, and different ways to fill that void and that need, and it just all depends on you.
Yeah. What a great message. Thank you so much, Matthew.
All right.
All right. Have a good day.